There's so many useful things you can do with an Instant Pot that will make your life a lot simpler. I'm the author of the Vegan Instant Pot Cookbook, and today I'm sharing 10 reasons why the Instant Pot is a vegan's best friend. The first reason you should be best friends with the Instant Pot is that it is really the hands-off pot. It simplifies cooking so much because it makes a lot of it hands-off. So you don't have to babysit the stove and wait for something to simmer or steam or saute or boil or sizzle. You don't have to constantly check the oven to make sure something's not burning. You can literally leave the kitchen while your dinner is cooking and everything will be fine. So when I was a lawyer, a stressed out, overworked, unhappy lawyer, I didn't have time to cook. So I ate out for breakfast, lunch, and dinner most days, which obviously not very healthy. But then I got an Instant Pot and I found that I could make time to cook healthy meals because I could do other things while the Instant Pot was making my food. I could take a nap, which I needed. I could go to the gym and release some stress, which I needed. I could have fun and hang out with my friends. So the Instant Pot really simplified the way I cooked and showed me that even the busiest people can make time for cooking. So regardless of what kind of job you have, I'm sure you could use a little more free time in your life. And that is what the Instant Pot does. It gives you back free time that you didn't know you could have and still enables you to eat a healthy diet. Number 2, the Instant Pot makes it really easy to cook up healthy vegan meals, especially quick weeknight friendly ones. Being able to cook everything in one pot makes cooking so much less stressful, less intimidating, especially on a busy weeknight. And getting yourself to cook at home is already winning half the battle to eating a healthy plant-based diet, especially if you're new to cooking or new to a plant-based diet. To give you a few examples, you can make a hearty sweet potato lentil stew or a lasagna soup in the Instant Pot from start to finish, 45 minutes, and those require just 5 to 10 minutes of hands-on cooking. Or you can make a pot of lentils for meal prep to have throughout the week to round out your meals, and from start to finish, it's 25 minutes, and you have to do zero prep work. You can just pour water, lentils, and salt in the Instant Pot. That's what I call easy, delicious vegan, and that's what we're all about here at the Rainbow Plant Life channel. Another way you can make really easy, healthy meals in the Instant Pot is dump and go recipes. So I'm not talking about just making a pot of beans or a pot of grains. You can make an entire meal by dumping in a bunch of ingredients into the Instant Pot, walking away and coming back to dinner. I have a few of those recipes in my cookbook as well as some on my channel, and don't worry because coming soon I will have more dump and go recipes for you. Number 3, the Instant Pot makes it really simple to batch cook grains, so you can have one big pot of quinoa in your fridge for the whole week, or you can make one small pot of quinoa and make farro and make millet, so you have a bunch of different options to choose from. I know cooking quinoa on the stove isn't that hard, but it's even easier in the Instant Pot. So easy, I want to show you while I'm talking. 1 1/4 cup of water, 1 cup of black quinoa. Any color quinoa will do. That is it. Now I'm going to put the lid on. All right, maybe I'll stir it first. It's a lot of work to stir. Now we put the lid on and pressure cook for 1 minute. And that is all. If you're the kind of person who likes to cook one big batch of quinoa so you can have it throughout the week, just use your Instant Pot. I promise you it couldn't be simpler. Another grain I love making in the Instant Pot is rice. Short grain rice, long grain rice, brown rice, wild rice, all of the rices. And white rice needs just like 4 to 6 minutes if you're making a pot of rice, so it's also very quick. I've got some white rice in the Instant Pot, and as you can see, it's been cooked for over an hour. I just leave the keep warm setting on, and so if you have to run an errand after you put your food in the Instant Pot or you lose track of time, you can always come back and still have a warm meal. And of course, you're not just limited to the usual rice and quinoa in the Instant Pot. You can also make other kinds of grains like polenta. Polenta takes a really long time on the stove. You have to do a lot of stirring. It's a lot of arm work. It's a lot of standing by the stove. With the Instant Pot, you can just pour in your water and polenta and salt, and the Instant Pot will do all of the work. It'll come out just as creamy and as delicious as if you were to make it the traditional method. And if you want to know what the cook times are for common grains or what the water ratio is, I have a whole chart in my cookbook for grains as well as beans, lentils, and a bunch of different vegetables, and I've linked to my cookbook in the description box below. Number 4, the Instant Pot is incredibly useful for batch cooking and meal prepping beans and lentils. I used to always rely on canned beans or pre-cooked lentils, but then when I saw how easy it is to use my Instant Pot, it changed my life because it's less expensive over the long run. They taste a lot better, a lot fresher, a lot more flavorful, and you can store them in your fridge for several days, almost up to a week, and then you can have really healthy meals throughout the week. You You can round them out by adding some cooked lentils or beans. You always have a healthy plant-based protein on hand. Cooking beans on the stove can be a bit of a process, but with the Instant Pot, it really is hands-off cooking. So first off, you don't have to soak your beans, but you can if you want. I prefer to most of the time for digestive purposes, and it also reduces the cook time from 35 to 40 minutes to just 5 to 10 minutes. And with the beans, you can add water and salt, walk away, and when you come back, your beans will be perfectly cooked. You can also flavor them by adding different flavorings. I've got a whole video on how to perfectly cook beans in the Instant Pot if you want to check it out. And for lentils, I also have a video on how to cook lentils in the Instant Pot, and you can do it just with water and salt, or you could add some flavorings. They're so good for you, rich in fiber and protein, antioxidants. They help you stay full. They're good for heart health, all kinds of good things. So if you're not eating a lot of beans and lentils because you think it's too time consuming to cook, or you're afraid of cooking them on the stove, the Instant Pot is a godsend for these. Number 5, the Instant Pot is great for cooking a lot of different vegetables. It makes it very simple. One of the vegetables I love using my Instant Pot for is potatoes, specifically to steam or boil them. Today I've got fingerling potatoes, which are pretty small, so I'm gonna leave them whole. Since I'm steaming them, I'm gonna pour some water into the bottom of the pot. Then I've got this mesh wire steamer basket. I love it because it's quite deep, so it holds a lot. If you're interested, I'll put it in the description box below. And then I've got the fingerling potatoes, which will go in the steamer basket. And these need just 5 minutes at high pressure. I'm gonna use the steam setting, but if your Instant Pot model doesn't have a steam setting, the pressure cook setting is just about the same. The Instant Pot is also really great for cooking different squash varieties like butternut squash or spaghetti squash, or even stuff like kabocha squash. If you find a butternut squash that's on the smaller size like this, the whole thing can fit directly in your Instant Pot. Or if your squash is larger, you can't find a small squash, just cut it in half. It's a lot easier to cut crosswise than lengthwise. Stick it in there and you can cook it that way. So I've just got a cup of water here. I've got this steamer rack, and then just the whole Instant Pot, and then just the whole butternut squash. Depending on the size of your squash, cook it for 22 to 25 minutes. So if this is what the butternut squash looks like when it's done, we'll slice it through, and then it'll be really easy to scoop out the squash flesh, and we're gonna make my favorite vegan cheese sauce using it. For the cheese sauce, you'll need the cooked butternut squash, soaked cashews, plant-based milk, and a few other ingredients. I also have an easier cheese sauce that comes together entirely in the Instant Pot, which you can find in my cookbook. And then we'll drizzle the cheese sauce on top of those potatoes we just cooked in the Instant Pot. I've got a spaghetti squash here, and it is really easy to cook in an Instant Pot. Instead of cutting it down this way, which is kind of the more common way you might think, we're gonna cut it crosswise, because then the spaghetti strands will be a lot longer, so it'll feel more like pasta. Woo! So all you need to do is scoop out this gunk seeds situation in the middle. I don't really know what to call it. I call it gunk. Oh, it's so sticky inside there. I'm gonna pour some water into the bottom of the Instant Pot. And this is kind of the basic method anytime you wanna steam vegetables as opposed to directly cooking them. It's got these nice little handles. If yours doesn't have handles, you can find a handled one on Amazon. It's really convenient for pulling stuff out. And then just arrange your squash halves in the Instant Pot. It might take some fiddling around, positioning to make sure they both fit. And then we'll use the pressure cook or manual setting at high pressure for 7 minutes, and then perform a quick pressure release. Use a fork to scrape out all of the noodles, and you can serve them however you like. Today I'm serving them with a garlic tahini sauce, some cherry tomatoes, fresh basil and parsley, and vegan Parmesan cheese. A few other vegetables I love making in the Instant Pot are cabbage, broccoli, and bell peppers. Cabbage is one of the healthiest foods you can eat, and also really affordable, so a great addition to your diet. I like to braise cabbage, but on the stove it can take upwards of an hour. With the Instant Pot, the cook time is really short, just a few minutes. And in my cookbook, I have a recipe for a sweet and spicy braised red cabbage. It is the perfect side dish for any of those cozy winter comfort foods, which can be really heavy and rich. The sourness, the acidity, the sweetness, the spiciness all cut through that. I do saute the cabbage in the recipe to give it a little more flavor, but you can make it this way where you just dump everything in the Instant Pot if you prefer. Now for broccoli, which is really simple. Just add your florets and stems to a steamer basket with some water in the bottom of the pot. Cook it at low pressure for just 1 minute and perform a quick pressure release. Cooking at low pressure ensures the broccoli stays crisp tender and doesn't get mushy. Finally, we'll make some stuffed bell peppers. Traditionally, you need to parboil the peppers first, then stuff them and bake them in the oven. But with the Instant Pot, it is so much quicker because you can do it all at once. I'm stuffing these peppers with a burrito bowl filling made with brown rice, black beans, corn, cilantro, and salsa, and you can find the full recipe linked below. Arrange the bell peppers on top of the steamer rack. Pour some water into the pot and pressure cook them for 5 to 6 minutes depending on the size of your peppers. At the end, add some vegan cheese on top or the cheese sauce we made earlier, stick it back in the Instant Pot or under the broiler to melt. Number 6, I'm gonna stop counting with my hands because it's getting a little weird, but the 6th reason you're gonna love your Instant Pot is that it makes soups and stews and curries and chilies with so much depth of flavor and in a fraction of the time that you would have to do it on the stove. For instance, for a curry or a soup, you can use a cook time of 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and you're gonna get the rich depth of flavor, those complex notes that you would ordinarily only get if you simmered it on the stove for a really long time. One of my favorite ingredients to add to stews and curries in the Instant Pot is sweet potatoes or winter squash, because the Instant Pot high pressure really breaks them down and almost melts them into the consistency, so it naturally thickens up the stew or the curry in a really healthy, wholesome way. Number 7 is about breakfast. Everyone talks about the Instant Pot being great for eggs, but there are a lot of other great vegan options you can make for breakfast in the Instant Pot. One of them is yogurt. I think the Instant Pot makes it a little bit easier because it's all in one vessel. I do have a homemade coconut yogurt recipe in the breakfast chapter of my cookbook. It is really thick and creamy and tangy, and I love to pair it with granola and berries for a delicious, wholesome breakfast. Another great vegan breakfast option for the Instant Pot is oatmeal. Oatmeal's not that hard to make on the stove, I admit that, but I prefer steel-cut oats. They're a bit better for you, they're less processed, have a lower GI index, a bit more protein and fiber than rolled oats, and certainly more than quick oats. And I thought it would be fun to show you how to make a masala chai spiced oatmeal in the Instant Pot. Growing up, on the weekends we had a family tradition where we'd all sleep in and then my mom would make us masala chai, which is an Indian spiced black tea. There's a lot of warming spices, a lot of milk in there. So I wanted to bring the flavors of my childhood as well as my ethnic background into an oatmeal. It is wise to spread a little bit of cooking spray or just a tiny bit of oil and spread it around on the bottom of the pot, because if you don't, the oats tend to stick to the bottom and that can trigger the Instant Pot burn notice. I know some of you, oops. And then we're gonna add our creamy coconut milk. This is from a carton. You could also use oat milk or almond milk. And then we've got our steel cut oats. I'm using medjool dates, which are quite large, so if you're using deglet dates, which are smaller, you can use a few more. And then I've got our spice mix, which has cardamom, cloves, cinnamon, nutmeg, and ginger. When the oatmeal is done cooking, it'll be really thick and creamy with a bit of a chewy bite, and I like to serve it with sliced pears and pomegranate seeds. Reason number 8. The Instant Pot is obviously great for meal prep and batch cooking, but you can also make some fun and creative recipes in the Instant Pot that you might not have thought of. So one of those is a lasagna. You can easily make a lasagna in the Instant Pot. I have a recipe for vegan lasagna in my cookbook that a lot of you have loved, and you can find the full printed recipe on my blog. I also love using my Instant Pot to make cheesecake. The Instant Pot acts as a giant steamer bath and steams the cheesecake so it bakes evenly and never dries out. And finally, something I've been making for Super Bowl weekend for a couple years that is so good is a cheesy buffalo cauliflower dip. I just put a bunch of ingredients in the Instant Pot, so it's one of those easy dump and go recipes. It's cheesy, creamy, and spicy, and it's perfect for potlucks and all kinds of parties. This next reason makes me really happy and excited. Gen Zers, or Generation Z, Centennials, whatever you want to call yourselves, are the age group that are most likely to go vegan. And a lot of Gen Zers are in college right now, or about to go to college, or are young adults who live in small apartments with lots of roommates and don't have time or space to do cooking. So if you want to stick to a healthy plant-based diet, an Instant Pot will make your life a lot simpler. Similarly, if you're in a tight space, have a small kitchen, even if you're not a student, the Instant Pot is a multi-function device, so you can get rid of a lot of other gadgets. Even the most basic Instant Pots have 7 functions in one. The newer models have a bunch of different other things, so you can get rid of your rice cooker, you can get rid of your slow cooker. If you have one of the newer models, you can get rid of your sous vide machine or not have to buy a fancy expensive sous vide machine. You don't have to get an air fryer because there's an Instant Pot model with an air fryer on top. So you can have a minimalist kitchen and still get a lot of things done. If this video has you excited about finally getting an Instant Pot or getting yours out of storage where it's been gathering dust, then stick around because in the next few videos, I'm going to show you some delicious, wholesome vegan recipes recipes that you can make in your Instant Pot.